Hey Radiant Souls, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited because it is time, drum roll, for the monthly forecast. I've really enjoyed doing these. We started this in January 2022. We're now up to May. If you haven't seen those and don't know what it is that I'm talking about, check out the playlist that I'm gonna link here. And you can go back and catch up on what you've missed, because what I'm starting to see is that it's also a little bit of a self-development progression. So if you go back and watch the others, you'll kind of understand what I mean. So what I always like to do is say upfront, even though this is the energy forecast for May, that doesn't mean that it starts at 12 a.m. on May 1st and ends at midnight on May 31st. It may not apply to May for you for all of May. It may be bits and pieces of May. If you're coming to this and it's not even, it's not May, it's after May, it's the year, I don't know, 2012 something. 2012. We've gone back in time. It's the year 2040. I don't know. Let me go forward. Holy moly, what was that? That was funny. It still could apply. If you're here, there's likely a resonance for you and something that you are kind of keyed into, because if you're here on my channel, you're intuitive, you're sensitive, you're into that kind of stuff. So coolio, let's do it. If you are new here and you're wondering who this weird chick is who doesn't even know what year it is, my name's Heather Mays. I am an author, artist, intuitive counselor, animal communicator, energy healer. I'm a teacher, I'm a coach. I do a lot of things, but all with the underlying mission to empower and embolden others to connect with their divine radiant light. So that's why I'm here. That's why I show up. That's why I do what I do. And the monthly forecast is a piece of that. So if you kind of wondered how it is that I pull these through, I work with a team of guides. So that is individuals in the spirit realm, the angelic realm, and multidimensional beings. And we all kind of partner together. And I am their mouthpiece, basically. I am the celebrity spokesperson for this accumulation, this conglomeration, this corporation of guides and entities and beings. And I get a say too. They like to tell me I'm not really the CEO, but you know, whatever. So I start a few days out from when I know I want to do the video. And I usually start with just a word, or I may start with the art, which you'll see later. And then different pieces start to maybe dissolve. It kind of feels like if you've ever done those scratch off lottery tickets, and you start to scratch off and you can kind of see a little bit of what it's going to be, but you still got to do some work. So it doesn't always just drop right in. There's some give and take, and there's some play with pulling everything together. So I do like to give the forecast a structure, even though it comes in very discombobulated. So the first piece of that structure is the overall theme, and it's usually a word, it could be a phrase, it could be like a concept or an idea. And then we talk a little bit about that. So the messages that came through around that theme, why it is that the guides are saying this is prevalent energy at the collective level and the individual level, and we kind of pull that back a little bit and look at it more deeply. And then there is an element of the natural world or an animal totem. Those kind of come interchangeably. Sometimes we get both, which we do have this month. And then there is a meditation or an activity or an affirmation of some sort that helps us kind of tune into that energy, helps to give us a little framework for thinking about it as we go through the month. And then there is an intuitive art piece, which I have also channeled as part of pulling this together. And I will show that to you. And this month I'm going to talk you through parts of it, because this was a doozy. I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot in this artwork this month. So I'm really excited to show that piece to you. So without further ado, for May, what we are looking at is big, huge. You guys, it feels so palpable and so kinetic and so big. And the word or theme for this month is synthesis. So that is the energy of creation. That is bringing things together, two seemingly unrelated things sometimes, putting them together to make something new. So it's the energy of creation. It's the energy of bringing things, of birthing things into the world. And so many of us are really excited to start doing that in a bigger, more impactful way. But this energy is for the collective and for us as individuals. So let's talk about just real quickly what we're already seeing at the collective level. So remember I said the May forecast doesn't necessarily, the clock doesn't start ticking on May 1st. Sometimes the energy can stretch a little before, a little after. And I think what we're seeing at the collective, just one example, there are many, but one example of something that was kind of unrelated parts coming together to make something new is Elon Musk buying Twitter. So it's going to shift and shape that company in a different way than what it was before. So that's what we're looking at, the energy of things coming in, almost like if you're going down a highway and you see traffic merging in. Some things are merging in for us in a way that we can look at them from a different perspective and say, okay, now, like I've seen that thing out in the orbit personally for me for a while, and I wasn't ready to really do anything with it. But now I can take that on board, marry it with something else, and have it become something positive for me. So this is all also, the energy feels very positive, very forward thinking, very progressive in the way of bringing in opportunities for us. So the other way they wanted to show us how to think about it is, I can relate because I'm not a foodie, but I do love my food. So they were saying if you kind of think of fusion cuisine. So for instance, you take, Mexican food and merge it with Asian food, you've got a nice fusion cuisine. So it's the energy of fusion, bringing things together. So when you look at your own life, again, like I said, that highway merging in, what are you ready? What is ripe for you to start to develop, to start to pull together? It could be a new way to think about a relationship. It could be leaving a job, taking a new job, starting something, writing something, taking a chance. There was someone the other day who mentioned that just kind of following her gut, she's going to do ballroom dancing or has started doing ballroom dancing. What's something for you that is just new and coming on board that you're merging with other parts of yourself to make something better, a different version of yourself? And I'm doing this motion because that's what it feels like it's spiraling out and up into something improved. So that to me is really exciting for all of us. It feels, man, like I want to hit the ground running. I want to just start going with it. The other way that I was shown to break down the word, I do like to look at the bits and pieces of these words because I think often there is something there that we can kind of hook into and think about a little differently. So if you look at the word synthesis, what they wanted to say is let's break that down. So the SYN, if we think of that as sign, we can kind of say it in our mind. We know it's synthesis, but we're going to say it as sign, SYN. The middle word is the, or they want to say like this. They want to just, if you're saying sign, this is synthesis. Sign, this is your green light. This is your go. This is your flag at the start line to start doing things and start building things and pulling things together for yourself. One other image that I keep seeing when I am thinking about this is taking like children's Play-Doh or Legos and just with the fun of it. So that's the other thing in this energy too, is it's fun. It is enlivened. It's confident and courageous, but silly and just not as concerned about worry and anxiety. And why that's important when we look at May 22, why there are so many things that are going to feel new and different and new combinations is that as a collective and individuals, we haven't been ready for that yet. We've had all of this other stuff, this muck, this mire to tread through for years now. But you know what? That gave us a lot of muscle mass, that gave us resistance, that gave us the desire to now, when the clouds start to part and when things feel opportune for us, it's now a good time to start doing things. So it's not that this energy, is just surprise. It's that we've been building up to it all along. So if that helps you feel more confident and more empowered, go with it and think of it like that. But have the energy of playing and really just, maybe you don't even know what something wants to become, but you just sit in front of your pile of Play-Doh and you see what comes out. Or you stack all the Legos up and maybe you get a building, maybe you get a bridge, maybe you don't know. Just play with different combinations of things. So the animal totem that wanted to come through, I think I'll do that first before the natural element. The animal totem for this is the honeybee. And I love that it's spring here where I live and we're starting to see honeybees start to come out, and the message as it relates to synthesis. There are a couple of paths we're going to take with this. So the honeybee pollinates flowers. So if we're looking at it as the energy of fertility, the energy of creation, a bee is going from one flower to another and carrying that pollen, knocking the dust of the pollen off their cute little bee bodies into the next flower, which pollinates that flower and allows it to propagate. What in our lives are we picking up from other people? Maybe you're learning something in a class. Maybe you learned a lesson in a relationship. Maybe you sat in a meditation with yourself and learned something. What are you taking from that and pollinating somewhere else? Do you call a friend and say, hey, this was really cool. Can we talk it through? I want to see what your perspective is. And now you've kind of planted a seed over there with them to start something. So it's the energy of kind of spreading ideas and pollinating things so that you are an agent of creation, even if you aren't the one physically creating something. The honeybee isn't growing a flower. They're not birthing the flower, but they catalyze that fertility for that flower. So the other way with the honeybee that I'm shown to look at the energy of synthesis is in making the honey. So they go out and they collect the pollen from the flower, or they're drinking the little flower juice. That's how I like to think about it. And they go back to the hive and they pass it from one bee to the next. And there's a chemical process of making honey. It's mixing in, they actually have something called a honey stomach, which to me sounds really fun. I want to say like Winnie the Pooh now, it's a whole honey thing. But there are chemicals that help make that honey, and then the whole hive comes together. I won't get into the details, but the whole hive comes together to not just make honey, but make the honeycomb that is going to keep their honey over winter. So few things, it is, if we look at honey, it's like the nectar of life, the sweetness. What are you doing to enhance the sweetness in your own life and the joy of those around you? Are you sharing it? Are you spreading it? Are you being an agent of light and love for other people? Look at that with yourself. Where do you have an opportunity to do that? And then the thing with bees is they're doing all of this not just because it's their jam, but because they are looking after the survival of their unit, of their community. So they are bringing this nectar in, they are making honey out of the nectar so that they have something to eat when it's too cold for them to exist out in the real world. So when you are spreading this love and light and this honey and this nectar of love and light and divinity into the world, are you spreading it through your family, your friends, your community? Are you making those connections to find other people like you? So that in the times when it may get, I don't want to say bleak, that's an overstatement, but where it may get challenging, do you have a reserve of that optimism? Do you keep a little bit extra joy on hand, just like we would think about maybe storing food or water? Do you store up those relationships and those good things? Can you go back to that well and dip in and quench your own thirst and the thirst of others when we're thinking about spreading happiness and joy? And I know this is really like Pollyanna sunshiny, but I gotta tell you, you guys, the energy feels so expansive and big, and it's the divine feminine coming into it as well. It's just beautiful. It's gorgeous. So if I sound a little cheesy, I don't even apologize for it because that's what's out there in the month, in the world this month. Does that mean there won't be anything bad that happens to anybody that sees this video? No, of course not. We're still here. We're still here on the challenging planet of Earth. We're still here in third dimension. We still have lessons to learn and things to go through. But this is just like a little lesson plan to keep in the back of your mind, keep in your back pocket to bring out when you need to reframe and look at things. So the natural element that wanted to come through was a forest, but specifically kind of the ecosystem of the forest. So a few things. If you walk through a forest, as I did yesterday, so I did my research yesterday, something told me you need to go out and hike a trail to like just get some more information, bring in some of these downloads. So if you are walking through a forest, even though it's spring right now in my part of the world, and you see a lot of green, you see a lot of new growth, you see birds making nests and bugs, squirreling around and squirrels squirreling around, but bugs flying around and scattering around, and everything is kind of alive. But it is alive and growing amidst layers of decay and destruction. So a forest is always growing and fed by the things that fell to the wayside. Those bad ideas, those bad decisions, if we correlate that to our own life, do we allow those things to be fertile for us so that we can grow? Or do we become bogged down and mired in them? So you have to have the combination of the light coming through the forest and the really rich, enlivened soil that is rich and enlivened because of the things that are in our past, the things that we can move past. The things that we may classify as, that was a hot mess. What a pile of tree manure. What a pile of forest manure is that thing that we just went through. But it's going to catalyze that new growth and that fertility and that abundance and that blossoming for us. So the other thing about thinking in line with a forest is a tree is always going to grow toward light. So just keep that in mind too. Where are you orienting yourself? What are you growing toward? And remembering that decay, that decomposition, that root system as well, all of that is in the past. It's allowing you to grow toward the light. So yeah, I think that was it. There was some other metaphors about seeds blowing around, but you get it. You get the general concept. It isn't just sunshiny happiness. It is that sunshiny happiness is brought about because of things falling away. So let those things that need to fall away so that you can grow. Okay, so we're on now to, I'm looking at my list, the affirmation or exercise. So the affirmation for this month is kind of a short and sweet one. If I can remember where I put it, it's on my paper here. And it is, I am a divine co-creator, empowered by my desire to bring light and love to all I see. It's pretty powerful. Let's call that in again. I am a divine creator, empowered by my desire to bring light and love to all that I see. All. And the guides are saying, make sure you highlight that. It's all. It's not, I'm going to bring light and love to this group of people because I agree with them politically. I'm going to bring light and love to these people because they're nice to me. All. We do not change this world into the one that we desire until we already live as if we're there. Love, light to all. Stop the dichotomy, stop the bipolar, not bipolar, but sometimes it feels like that if you look at like comments on social media, but stop the polarity is what I'm trying to say. Light and love to all. So let's look at the artwork, and I'm logging onto my computer because I shot a little video earlier and I'm gonna watch it. You're gonna see it right now and I'm gonna kind of talk you through it because I really wanted to zoom in and show some different areas within the artwork because I think there are different levels with which we can appreciate overall the art, but also the vibration and the messages within the art. And if you aren't one who zooms in on my art pieces, I encourage you to start doing that, because there's often a lot of detail that gets missed if we're just looking at kind of the big picture. And isn't that kind of a metaphor for life anyway? There you go. So if I look at the artwork for Synthesis this month, just at a glance, we've got some really powerful elements, and there are elements out to the side here of motion and breeze, and I think that goes back to talking about the forest and seeds being dispersed in the forest. And then down here, that to me looks like a fingerprint. So you are putting your mark on what you're creating, and it is bubbling up through all of the channels. That looks like a little feather. I think that's what I was highlighting there, but it's bubbling up, alchemizing through you with your unique signature out into the universe. So there you have it. That is the month of May 2022. I hope you enjoyed this little forecast. I certainly had fun with it. And as always, the energetic frequency art that you just saw for this month is available for digital download for free for the month. Until you see the next month's video, you can get the prior month's art for free. You can also download it where you can print it out. That is a separate kind of thing where you would purchase it. And then this month I'm doing something new. Maybe it sticks, maybe it doesn't. If you want a signed print of this artwork on fine art paper, there's a way for you to get that too. So that's kind of a nice keepsake. I sign and date it on the back, mail it out to you myself personally, but I only have a limited number of those. So if that's your thing, I encourage you to go ahead and get that. And if not, no worries. We're just trying it to see, because I've had people ask, can you send me people like physical? Can I have a physical print of something? So this is my way to offer that. So that's it, you guys. Leave some comments, share some love. Remember, light and love to all, not just your pre-approved list. And I hope you have a most amazing day. I will see you next time. Bye.